My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Welcome back, gang. Today we got a special guest zooming in from beautiful Dallas, Texas, and we're filming mid-May 2025. And David Lilley was just telling me it's like in the 90, getting close to 100 degrees in Dallas, Texas, and we're not even halfway through
triple
May.
digits tomorrow.
That's crazy. So anyhow, David is a very, very accomplished real estate entrepreneur. And with his company, they have gone from 0 to over 1,900 rental units in a very short period of time. Like, I think you started in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, David.
2018, that's right.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And we're going to dig in and find out how. So welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So give me a little snapshot of what the portfolio looks like those 1,900 or so doors. How many different projects or communities does that comprise?
Yeah, it's across eight properties here in DFW. So
all in Dallas,
Dallas Fort Worth. Yeah. So mainly on the Dallas side, we don't have anything into Fort Worth. The farthest west we go is Arlington, Grand Prairie, and then walking back into Dallas proper and Plano. So those are all. We've got two in the portfolio that are 70s, one's a 69 and a 71 vintage. The rest are 80s. And we bought our first 90s deal in December.
Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you started in this in 2018. For us old timers, that's not very long ago. Relatively
feels
speaking.
Like a long time.
Yeah, probably. But, relatively speaking, not that long ago. What would you say has kind of been your key to success for growing the portfolio that quickly, that aggressively?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it seems like it's been slow and methodical. We went from 6 unit was our first acquisition in Tampa, and then we did 16 units in Chandler, Arizona a couple months later, and then a self-storage deal. And then I think the next one was 67 units. So it felt like a slow ramp up for me. But I guess in the beginning, just starting out, not having a professional background in real estate, you're really relying on the people that and are close with, because those are the people that may or may not trust you. It's hard to talk people into investing money with you when you have no experience and they don't know who you are. So, outside of that, it's just a matter of, doing the right thing, and doing, a big believer in doing all the little things right, no matter how small, because it adds up to big results. So I think, at least early on, it was, just showing people that you were going to do what you said you were going to do. And we had a lot of success early on too. So that certainly helps. It'd be, much, much harder these days when you get into new deals with investors and still haven't had an exit. So, it's, the jury's kind of out still, but that's, it was a little easier in the early years, a lot of quick exits under 2-year hold periods, making a bunch of money, makes a lot of things easier.
Well, speaking of that, so when times got a little bit tough not that long ago, what did you guys notice and how did that affect you positively or negatively?
A lot of education, and a lot of messaging and a lot of figuring out how to best report on what we're seeing on the ground. Everyone in this industry is well aware of the challenges we've faced, particularly in the Sun Belt, with all the new supply on top of the Fed's interest rate hike campaign. But maybe your unsophisticated investor has no idea what's going on. The economy is good for them. Nothing, their paycheck hasn't skipped a beat. So for us, it was a lot of, how can we best communicate what we're seeing to our investors so they can kind of understand what we're dealing with. And when you do that effectively, most people understand. There's always going to be those unreasonable people that don't care that we're seeing a bunch of negative rent growth and vacancies elevated and bad debt and you name it. So it's just goes back to a lot of education, I would say,
Yeah,
and
most definitely.
just improved reporting.
So how are things looking these days? From your
Better.
perspective.
Yeah. It seems like, every conversation I've had like this in the past 6 months or so, it's always the same answer. Better. Things do appear to be getting better here in Dallas. We've seen some positive rent growth over the past month, and even year over year, I think we're just slightly positive now here in Dallas. So, looking across our portfolio, we're slightly positive on lease trade outs, and we're around like 3% positive on our renewals, which is why they've been such a huge focus for everybody. But it's getting better. Traffic has been really strong the past week and past month, so we're hoping things just continue to get better, as we get into peak leasing season here.
So, David, growing the portfolio the way that you have, so you've got a lot of units, but you don't have that many different projects. I think you said 8. Is that correct?
8
at the moment.
That's right.
Okay, that's in fairly close proximity. So,
Yeah.
are you guys a pretty vertically integrated company? And for folks that aren't super familiar with that term, maybe explain what that means to you.
Yeah. So vertical integration, essentially bringing all the different functions in house and not having to rely on an outside third party group, to do your property management or construction management. And we take it a step further. We're not just managing construction. We're acting as the general contractor. So we're ordering materials, and then all the subs or subcontractors reporting directly to my guys. So yeah, we're vertically integrated. We brought property management in house around 225 units, something like that. So pretty early on, which I don't know if I'd recommend it or not. I mean, I guess it was a good thing in that we were able to, kind of ramp up operations.
Yeah.
It's a little easier to, pay for all the necessary personnel when you're a little bit bigger, maybe a couple thousand units, but we learned a lot of valuable lessons early on. So I'm glad we did. And, I'm just a big fan of the control and transparency that you get when you're in the weeds on everything, So,
Right.
yeah, it's been a great value add for us. And it's made me a better operator, better on the acquisitions front and everything like that.
So, David, raising capital is a big part of growing a portfolio that big
Yeah.
that quickly. What's kind of been your perspective on that and your growth since 2018 in that department?
Yeah, I mean, it's, referrals are still our biggest piece of business, So we definitely try to do right by our investors we've just continued to branch out from friends and family. We did our first institutional deal with our last acquisition, so that was acquisition 14. So it took us 14 deals to get an institutional LP to write a $2 million check. So we've started to branch out into bigger, larger single check writers, but still very focused on building out and growing our retail investor base, and the different fund managers we work with and that sort of thing. So, my view is having a diverse kind of base of capital is ideal. I don't want to be beholden to one, single check writer. I prefer to have options. So,
Yeah. What do you find it works best for you in addition to, like, when you're going for retail investors? Referrals are always the best, that's for sure. But what do you find these days kind of works well for you guys for connecting with new blood?
I mean, we've been talking about that a lot. We're in the process of putting together an event, so that usually seems to make the most lasting impact, when we can, whatever it is, networking, it's a conference or whatever, you actually get in front of someone and, there's that, you hit it off, have that chemistry. They're looking for, the services we provide. But I think that has the biggest impact, actually, having a face to face, getting in front of someone. So whatever means necessary to make that happen.
So have you guys been doing events, or is this kind of a new thing for you?
It's been a while. Yeah, we were getting into the habit of, every quarter, maybe twice a year, putting on a happy hour, and I think we've just gotten busy with the existing portfolio, so we're trying to revive it and, step up our investor relations game a little bit.
Oh, that's great. It's interesting. I was just chatting with another multifamily syndicator literally about an hour and a half ago, and they were doing something really interesting. So once a quarter, they do an event,
Yeah.
but it's an on-site tour of one of their properties.
Yeah.
And they've got it in the calendar every quarter, ding, 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 and they invite everybody on their list. And what the gentleman was telling me that's really smart is they encourage people to bring a friend, like
Yeah.
somebody who's not
Yeah.
on their database. And sometimes they get 7 or 8 people coming out. Sometimes they get 50 or 60 people coming out. It doesn't matter. They do it consistently. And on site, and this will be easy for you. On site, they have the property manager do a little presentation, walk people through the good, the bad, the ugly, the how everything works. And according to him, they're very transparent about what the challenges have been, what the pros are, all how things work. And they find that is very, very effective. So
Yeah.
yeah, events are that face to face time,
Oh yeah.
low leverage but high touch, high impact. Yeah, very, very
Agreed.
cool.
Yeah.
So what are the goals and aspirations for, well, I was going to say this new year, but we're almost halfway through it already. So the rest of 2025, what are you guys focusing on?
We're behind schedule. Yeah, we started the year with plans to acquire 2,000 units. So we've essentially every year we've doubled the portfolio. We bought 1,000 units last year, so
Wow.
we doubled last year. And we were just trying to keep that pace up, keep that volume up. So, which is why we started to look into other markets in Texas, Houston probably being top of the list, because we had since just been focused on DFW, and then Florida, Carolinas as well. So to hit that volume, we felt like it would probably be a good idea to start branching out and get back into some of these other markets we've played in years past. So
Are you going to be able to still self-manage if you're going that far away from home and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on the size of the property, kind of where it's located. If it's just a one-off deal, it may make more sense to go third party until we get a bigger footprint in the area. But
Yeah.
ideally, we're buying a 2 to 3 property portfolio, and it makes more sense, to manage it ourselves. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Exciting stuff. Well, David, this has been a lot of fun, and congratulations on going from 0 to like over 1,900 units in what I think is a
Thank you.
relatively very short period of time. That is phenomenal, and making it through those tough times, because that took a lot of people out. It sounds like you guys kind of hit the situation head on and dealt with it. And what really stood out to me was that communication thing. So just obviously, some people are going to be ticked off because it's not always the go, go, go. They got spoiled, basically, is what happened. But by being open and communicating with people, a lot more people were understanding and probably very appreciative of just being kept, out of the dark about what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. That's been our focus. We've tried to just be transparent, and we haven't had to do any capital calls. If anyone's putting money into a deal, it's going to be me, and that's the way it's been. So, fortunately, our deals have been in pretty good shape, but we're dealing with all the same challenges everyone else is. I think we just maybe we're a tad bit more disciplined on the purchase than others, but it doesn't make the negative rent growth sting any less.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, another thing that you guys have done well, a lot of people were hunkered down just in hibernation mode last year and the year before. You guys doubled your size of your portfolio last year,
Yeah.
so hats off to you for that. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So, David, if people want to connect with you, what can they do? Where should they go?
Just shoot me an email. It's David at reapcap.com, reapcap.com. Happy to help. Happy to offer advice or guidance as long as I can, till my inbox gets too full.
And is there a website people can go check out as well?
Yeah, reapcapital.com.
Perfect. That's easy. Awesome, David. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll
guys.
see you on the next one. Hey there. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.